Chapter 72 Xyanthor and Earth. Retron has sat alone in his office, trying to enjoy his nostalgic photos online, but eventually stops, seeing that his nostalgia has wrapped around him. He does keep tabs on the servicemen, as the servicemen continue to help the public, such as small crimes or organizing the balance of food with everyone. The president, however, enters the base to go and see Retron. The president is told by the Legion that Retron refused and lost a fight he started. Retron tries to get the president to leave and gets sad to the point where he slouches to the ground. The president then decides to get off his wheelchair and sit next to him. The president reminisces about the good times with Retron, and the president only talks about them because he knows that Retron has enjoyed all those times before. Now it's time to let them go to cope with the new era, a possible era where the Legion is the best hope for the universe. The president also apologizes for the times the two have argued and other cases like the other politicians removing power from Retron, which the president was reluctant to do. But even then, everyone faulted what had been happening recently, so no one escaped unscathed. Even the president nearly lost his role too early until he had to convince the others why he was still worthy. As Retron listens to all of this and thinks, Retron swallows this sour pill. After Nicole beats Retron gets more of an understanding, wishing he wasn't so hooked on the past. The president then gets himself up back on the wheelchair, and as he leaves, he makes a joke with Retron that the president does miss his legs, but he remains interested in ruling the world in the best way he can. With Xyanthor's team having a good idea for where each element is at. They have an efficient idea for the goons to go to the Titanran planet to get hold of Livinga, as they think they might have it back. Plus now they can locate the Titanran planet properly, it is already time to wipe the race from the map. Hamota is also a target. And they think it would have been taken by the Legion as they were the ones to beat Torrid. So the next two destinations have been made, and they will then unite again once both elements are collected. They can then plan to get the next two. Mollug is the only goon to make their way to Earth with Xyanthor and Vata, and the rest go in their ship from Mollug's book while the same one is for the Earth, and so Xyanthor, Vata and Mollug have all arrived on Earth, looking around the planet, finding it fascinating yet not too appealing. Mainly because of the damage from both Torrid and Mechajaw. Vata tries to compare how bad the Earth looks compared to what their world used to be like. Xyanthor sees this nostalgia as mushy, and Vata then decides to apologize for everything from the insults to the forced training. Xyanthor does admit that while his upbringing wasn't the best, it still made him a figure who is feared by others, which he likes a lot. Not to mention Vata sees how capable Xyanthor is now compared to what he used to be, making Vata state that Xyanthor is certainly worthy of handling all the elements, and will do a better job with them than Vata ever did. As Xyanthor and Vata start to get walking, they encounter a human hiker with a dog, appearing from behind a selection of rocks. And this is where both duos are freaked out by each other. Whilst the dog walker is spooked, Xyanthor and Vata later see that neither is a threat, even though the dog is curious rather than threatened. Xyanthor then slowly goes up to the hiker. And Xyanthor asks what he does and what the Earth has been like. The hiker is someone distant from the whole of society, but as far as he knows, there is crime here and there, but the whole world is so downtrodden at a point where everyone is bored, no one is up for doing anything fun. All focusing on survival. After hearing this, Xyanthor and even Vata get the idea that Earth could now be more of a peaceful and controlled planet, especially with no Legion members in their sight aside from Pod. Even the hiker says that the base is hardly active these days. But Xyanthor still considers getting rid of those people, perhaps convincing the servicemen to stop their job role to prevent anyone from suffering on Earth. Xyanthor and Vata can't look at a suffering world without thinking of their own. They may give Earth a chance despite the past annoyance, but over time they will see and sense what else to diminish in the universe. This is another perk that the elements can provide. Embodying all of creation can enable anyone to be omnipresent. Even able to perform moves like adding vegetation to multiple planets whilst sitting in a room in another world. And so, both Xyanthor and Vata start to face the public, asking them where the cube element is. Mollug is ahead to try and locate it himself. But Xyanthor thought asking would provide more of a head start. The president and the servicemen see this, and so while the servicemen hide and make their way slowly to Xyanthor via cover, The president rolls in his wheelchair to face Zionthor on his own, grabbing the interest of Zionthor and Vater. The president confronts them, asking who they are. Zionthor and Vater explain themselves, making the president slightly scared but standing his ground. He asks them to leave while slowly getting a certain gun from his wheelchair, a kind that fires sticking bombs that can explode on command. He only fires once Vater attacks first. Another fight then begins. While Mollog is starting to see the mountain while remaining hidden thanks to his invisibility spell, a spell which does take a lot of time to perform as well as being still. He hid behind a rock as Zionthor and Vater faced Earth. Mollog cannot use the spell in combat as it can be disrupted easily. Zionthor and Vater go for the serviceman, with Zionthor either using telekinesis or force fields to hinder the incoming fire from the serviceman. Vater runs into the servicemen, knocking most of them like bowling pins. And this makes the public watching this start to run as far as possible. This is where both Zionthor and Vater state to the president and servicemen to stop fighting or they will be spared, which no one accepts, meaning Zionthor and Vater are willing to kill these battling humans. Before more servicemen lose in battle too quickly, the Titanran cruise starts to occur from light speed, even making the public of Earth and some injured servicemen interested in the huge ship. Not to mention the president does make it to Retron, trying to aid him. But mainly glad that help is around, knowing enough about Dian and seeing the Titanran's efforts for when the Earth had its biggest flood ever. With many Titanrans jumping out including Carpo, some of the Titanrans run to the fight. The rest form vines which are to tangle both Vater and Zionthor, and Dian has come along too. Dian goes to Vater with some servicemen helping Dian while Zionthor fights the rest of the servicemen and the entire Titanrans. Zionthor uses his superior martial arts to beat up each Titanran. Able to rip away any vines off him and using Forza to give him a good advantage, throwing the Titanrans away using his strength or zapping other ones until they are fried, and this goes on until Carpo ends up being the last Titanran standing. As Carpo loses round 1, the president tries to fire at Zionthor via his gun, and before Zionthor goes for the president, swinging him off his wheelchair, Retron fires his sniper, trying to fire at Zionthor's face, and the president is pleased that Retron is helping. Retron does start to accept that he may be too small to be the best hero in the universe, but it doesn't mean that he can still help. Being at his best, he can still be the hero from all those years ago. Sadly, Zionthor jumps towards Retron near the base. And Zionthor produces a lightning strike that zaps nearby Retron, before Carpo's vines drag Zionthor back into the fight, even trying to hit Zionthor's amulet. The president tries to hide in cover. Mollog is about to enter the mountain. And most servicemen are gone with very few left to fight, but Dian keeps trying to fight Vater, and Zionthor has another round with Carpo. Despite Dian's efforts, Vater, considering his armor and pain tolerance, can defeat Dian via punches and pulling his limbs, damaging Dian badly. Dian loses abilities, and making Dian nothing but a chain of metal, only able to turn his head. Carpo however begins his round with Zionthor by punching the amulet first, making Zionthor unable to use Forza, but Zionthor's fighting skills are like mixing a dozen senseis into one. So Carpo is down despite a good few whacks and with the help of vines to drag Zionthor into the ground. But Carpo is punched so hard that he flies across the land, struggling to stand. And this is where Mollog quickly arrives to see Zionthor, and with Vater coming to Zionthor too, now no more active servicemen are around. Before Mollog provides his update, Zionthor belittles Carpo and the Titanrans as Zionthor mocks them for thinking they can bring back any races they want. While some of it could have been worthy, many other races shouldn't come back. Zionthor and Vater will not have their work get undone. He tells them that Titanrans aren't needed. And Zionthor tells Carpo and the rest that they should look back on their whole existence as it will all go thanks to the next elemental wave. Not to mention, once Zionthor has the full power of the elements, life can be created instantly compared to the slow method that the Titanrans have to perform, which the goons have updated Zionthor as they fight for Livinga during this battle on Earth. Despite many usages of the elements around the planet, what used to be Hermota's spot as Mollog identified minor amounts of energy left behind, was not present overall, and so they all decide to leave. Even Zionthor uses Forza to crush the Titanran ship, wrecking it. But they use the wrist devices to teleport back to the Deepar fortress, as Mollog created a teleporting device for Vata much earlier. Zion, Thor and Vata teleport, but the president manages to shoot Mollog before he can teleport, killing Mollog as a result. Even the book loses all its power now Mollog is dead, with no more fighting. Dian, the servicemen, and the Titanrans are either properly beaten or even dead. There are no spaceships too, meaning they cannot go out to space and help either team of the Legion. There is one option though. Retron still has some stars at the base despite space traveling becoming an aspect of the Earth which has discontinued. If a star is found, that means only Dian can leave the Earth to help the others. And so, while those around provide some reverence for Retron, his body is moved to his office and a search party involving the servicemen for a star occurs despite how messy the base is. However, Dian senses a loss that could be seen as worse than the battle Dian just endured.